Mayor Megan Barry is going to start off this press conference about an important issue related to workforce and affordable housing, followed by Councilmember Colby Sledge, and then we'll open it up for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean, and welcome to all of you. I think it's pretty amazing the amount of people that we have packed in this room today. I think it really shows what this community can do and the important voices that are around the table as we talk about affordable housing and workforce housing. And I want to give a shout out to several of the folks who are with us today, especially the elected officials who are here. We have Councilmember Bob Mendez, Councilmember Fabian Bedney, Councilmember Colby Sledge, Councilmember DaCosta Hastings, Councilmember Bill Pridemore, Councilmember Robert Swope, Councilmember Anthony Davis, Councilmember Larry Hager, Councilmember Mina Johnson, Councilmember Sharon Hurt, Councilmember Erica Gilmore, Councilmember Freddie O'Connell, and Councilmember Berkeley Allen. Amen. Did I forget anyone? Because I don't want to forget anyone. I also want to give a shout out to Jim Harbison, who is here from MDHA, and to also start this with recognizing Reverend Bill Barnes, my longtime friend, who has made affordable housing a key part of his mission in life. And Bill, thank you. It's so nice to see you. We are standing in Councilman Sledge's district, and we also have some of the Barnes Fund Commission members who are here. I'd like to especially thank Chairwoman Latricia Jemison for being here. And as many of you know, it's not going to come as a shock, Nashville is growing at an astonishing pace, and it's creating a lot of opportunities for us in the city. Every week brings a new story about economic development, new jobs, new ideas for making our city and our area more appealing. But with that growth comes some challenges. Our poverty rate has increased 20%, and many Nashvillians are struggling to afford the combined housing and transportation costs. As Nashville continues to grow, we have to ensure that all of our residents can benefit from our city's prosperity. And that means making sure that they have access to affordable housing options. This is an issue that affects a wide range of Nashvillians. It affects our business community, and it affects our neighborhoods as a whole. We're talking about workforce housing. We're talking about places where teachers and firefighters and musicians and artists and public employees can afford to live. We're talking about housing for millennials. We're talking about housing for seniors. We're talking about housing for native Nashvillians. And we're talking about housing for people who are new to our city, drawn here because we have such a warm and welcoming place. We have a high quality of life, and we have consistent job growth that we've enjoyed for the past several years. And those strengths are open to everyone. We're also talking about low-income housing for families and individuals who are trying to find their footing, move off our streets, and get into housing. And we're looking at high-quality, safe housing without being cost-burdened. So we have to have housing that's near transit and near jobs. People have asked me from day one, what's the housing plan? For some reason, I get the same question about transit, but we'll talk about that another day. My priority is to increase housing options for existing and future residents of Davidson County as quickly as possible. We know that government can't do it alone. It's going to take partnerships and collaboration. So just last week, a developer in the Gulch announced plans to devote a portion of the units in their building to workforce housing. That's a step in the right direction. I often said during my campaign that our approach to housing needs to be multifaceted. We need to know how, we need to fund it, build it, preserve it, and retain it. Thank you, Jim Frazier. Now it's time to take a big step forward in funding housing options in our city. I am proud to announce today that my operating budget for the next fiscal year will include $10 million for the Barnes Fund for affordable housing. If we combine that with the $1 million that's now in the fund, the $5 million that we expect to get from the sale of the old convention center for redevelopment, This new money will increase the size of the Barnes Fund to $16 million for the fiscal year starting July 1st. This represents a major commitment of Metro General Fund dollars with an expectation of an annual commitment to future years. Increasing the size of the Barnes Fund will maximize our partnerships with the nonprofit community to acquire, build, and rehab housing all across Davidson County. The Barnes Fund has awarded more than $4 million since its creation in 2013, funding more than 100 housing units, and nonprofits have leveraged those dollars 3-to-1 with financial institutions and other federal, state, and local funding sources, and we expect that to continue. The Housing Fund through the Barnes Fund will address the needs of individuals and families who work in our core, who teach our children, who build our economy with their small businesses and our creatives. I want to recognize Reverend Bill Barnes one more time and thank him for all of his hard work, his perseverance, and his dedication to this issue. Bill, you never gave up. Now let's talk about building.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Along with funding, we're using our greatest asset, our land, to create housing opportunities. We will use surplus metro properties, some infill, and some large sites to develop affordable and workforce housing options. And we've started with a site across the street here at 12th and Wedgwood, a critical piece of land that Metro owns. It's also on a major transit corridor near downtown in this historic Edge Hill neighborhood. We are close to finalizing details with Ellington Capital Group, a Nashville company that is going to develop approximately the 2-acre property as workforce housing for people making 80 to 100% of area median income with a goal of building 110 units. The final agreement will be submitted to the Metro Council. Ellington Capital is experienced at developing affordable and workforce housing, and I'm very excited about this partnership. In fact, Senior Vice President Hunter Nelson and any of the other Capital leaders, could you guys still please stand to be recognized? This property will be a model of how public and private investment can come together, and you know me, I always like to say private-public investment, can come together to address housing needs using Metro's land, working expediently to create units and including strong long-term affordability requirements. There's work to be done on this site, including community engagement and a planning process, but we're ready to begin that process. Many of you heard last month about Metro donating infill lots to nonprofits for affordable housing development, and we're going to continue to do that. We're also working to build a partnership with Metro Nashville Public Schools. We're identifying underused properties for affordable and workforce housing options for teachers who are so important to our city's future. While I'm excited about these housing priorities, I know that government cannot do this work alone, and we still have a lot of work to do. The Metro Council and the Metro Planning Commission are in conversations right now about how to approach private development of affordable and workforce housing. The inclusionary zoning conversation is one with strong advocates on both sides, and one that the state legislature has even taken a position on. I don't think it's about taking sides or scoring political points. It's not about one side or another. It's about Nashville's future, and it's about finding a growth and development approach that works for all Nashvillians, and that may require compromise, collaboration, and honest talk between stakeholders. With housing, as with other issues, I want to take this controversy and turn it into conversation, and then turn that conversation into action. So I'm committed to working on incentives for affordable and workforce housing. The project Ellington Capital Group will build across the street is going to be a model of what I think we can achieve together if we work together. Affordability within a private development context. Metro Council members, I thank you for your leadership and your work on this topic. You know my team, and I will continue to work with you as we develop solutions to incentivize affordable housing development. It's my hope that we can get all the players around the table to talk through what works economically, what the market can bear, and what developers need to make in order for us to have affordable housing. Taking these steps to ensure that every Nashvillian has access to a safe, affordable neighborhood is not about politics. It's not about data and it's about data and numbers, and it's about maximizing our efforts to provide as many affordable units as possible. Based on the data itself, that's where we're heading. And that's critical to making Nashville an even better place to live. We can't just rest on our well-deserved laurels and pat ourselves on the back for being the it city. We have to do more. We have to be the city that gets it. and gets it right so that all Nashvillians can succeed. Before I turn this over to Councilmember Colby Sledge, just let me mention that my housing priorities and action plan will be online today, and it will outline this in much greater detail. I spent some time talking about how we are going to fund it and build it, but the other priorities will lay out how to preserve and retain the housing that we have. Now I'd like to ask Councilman Sledge to make a few remarks. We are in his council district, as I said earlier, and he's also the council representative on the Barnes Fund. So Councilman Sledge, would you be so kind as to join me up here?
Good afternoon. You know, in District 17, we respond a little bit better than that. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I recognize people who are in my district. So I wanted to recognize, as Mayor Berry did, we have several members of the Affordable Housing Ad Hoc Committee on the council are here, including Chairman Bedney, and we have been working extremely hard on this issue since most of us came into office for the first time. And I think the number of council members who are here shows that this is what we ran on. This is what the people of Nashville told us that they wanted to see from us. So I thank all of my colleagues for being here and joining me in the district, because this is a critical issue. The proposal that Mayor Berry has laid out is going to accomplish two major goals of the council's Ad Hoc Affordable Housing Committee. First, it provides that dedicated funding for the Barnes Fund. That funding is going to be targeted to those who otherwise are shut out of Nashville's housing market right now. If you are working a shift at a local restaurant, or you're putting together multiple jobs just to make ends meet, or you're in a home currently that you can't afford to repair, this funding is targeted to you. And I applaud the mayor for her unceasing focus on this effort and for her commitment to substantial progress on these issues through these funds. As the mayor mentioned, I'm the council representative on the Housing Trust Fund. Several commissioners are here today, and I acknowledge, and we all acknowledge, that our commission's responsibilities are about to get a lot bigger. We are going to work together to ensure that our Housing Trust Fund Commission is equipped to help the greatest possible number of Nashvillians with this new funding level. Now, the second part of that, this proposed project across the street from us, this land has been in discussion in this neighborhood and in this area for several years, and I especially want to recognize the work and conversation that the organized neighbors of Edge Hill have had on this land and will continue to have as we engage them through this process. This project across the street, this proposal, is representative that the council has legislation before us. It's the kind of project that we can accomplish through the legislation before us with the work that we're doing on the ad hoc committee. It is the kind of multifamily housing for Nashvillians, like our police officers here at the Midtown Hills Precinct, like our firefighters just down the street on 12th Avenue South, like our teachers that serve down at Carter Lawrence Elementary, and others in the public and private sectors. Under the legislation that we have before us, we can begin to encourage developers to produce for sale housing in denser developments in some of our fastest growing neighborhoods, many of which are right here surrounding this precinct. Now look, the legislation before us does not solve every part of our housing needs. No bill does. But a comprehensive housing plan will require multiple approaches like the ones that have been laid out that incorporate public, private, and nonprofit leaders who are committed to working together. I believe that those people are in this room. And we are hard at work in the council and in this community to achieve two goals. That if you come to Nashville, that you can afford to live here, and that if you already live in Nashville, that you can afford to stay here. Now, today's announcement will make those goals a reality for hundreds, if not thousands, of Nashvillians. But our work is only beginning. Council members are meeting several times over the next few weeks to create a version of the legislation we have before us that is designed to receive Planning Commission approval, along with ultimately council approval. And soon we're going to take up the mayor's budget proposal along with other measures designed to create a wide range of housing for a wide range of Nashvillians. I want to work extremely diligently to ensure that the project we've described across the street passes as soon as possible, because we need to start increasing housing options in District 17. They are desperately needed. Now, today is the latest step in a long process, but it is a very big step. When it comes to housing in this city, the people of Nashville cannot afford for us to stand still. Now, I believe that we were going to take questions as well, and Adrian from the mayor's office is available as well.
Thank you, Colby.
Thank you.